Hi, it's Stacey. Good morning. I hope you start your week out great. I wanted to continue our conversation from last week about eliminations. So, one of the things that I eliminated was salt. And that seems like an easy one. And it somewhat was, I guess, for me because I didn't love salt, or I shouldn't say that. I liked it. I would put it on some things, but I didn't use it all the time. But I knew it was necessary to eliminate salt. Sodium is not your friend, and so the times that I was going to actually use the salt shaker and put salt on food, I don't. Now, I don't go to restaurants and ask them to make me something salt free. That would get really difficult. Um, but what I do is make sure I don't use any salt. And a couple things I just want to share with you. And it's in here in this fabulous guide that I got from Mayo on one of my visits. And I often pick these up for people. This is my version, so it looks um, a little bit old and decrepit. But a couple things. Okay, I just want to take you to this because last week we talked about, see if you did, calcium and how calcium is so important. And so when I was doing my salt journey, one of the things I was like, oh, I'm automatically going to have cottage cheese. And one of the things that in this that was recommended is not cottage cheese. I think maybe most people think cottage cheese is one of the best things for you. So um, one of the things it'll say is choose some low sodium cheeses. So cottage cheese actually has a lot of salt in it. So there's a lot of foods, even though I didn't salt a lot and I had to remove the salt, from that piece, that there's a lot of sodium in food, and that is not necessarily your friend. Okay. Um, the other things were, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, is flavored milks. There is a lot of sodium in those flavored milks. And so that was another thing I had to think about. But you need, so I'm talking about eliminations. Eliminate the salt. Salt is something you should definitely eliminate. But then you have to kind of look into the food. What are the ingredients of the food? And I'm not going to talk too much about that today because I promised to dedicate a um, just one session to it, I guess, if you want to call that this. But that's one thing. So then it came to I need to eat 1,200 milligrams of calcium a day. Okay. That's another focus I had. So everything I have, I always have cheese on it. And and here's the thing. I'm not going to get into too many specifics. I'm not a doctor, but some people will say, "Oh, you can have too much cheese." Here's the thing. When you're eating the right things, there won't be too much of anything. So that's one thing to make sure that you know if you're eating the right things. However, if the things you're eating has sugar and has a lot of salt in it, then that's something you need to take consideration of. The other thing I want to mention in here that and I'm just going to scratch the surface of it, is in the next one we're going to talk about processed foods. But growing up, I love my mother, but we had a lot of canned vegetables. So canned vegetables, if you will look, are full of sodium. You should not be intaking more than the allowable amount every day, but you should also try to reduce your sodium. So, a couple things there. Um, a couple things that I'm just going to note. I'm looking down because I just don't want to forget to tell you. A couple things that are not recommended: um, frozen or canned vegetables that have added salt. Don't use those. Fresh vegetables are the way to go. I know convenience, and you don't want those packaged with butter or breading. So I'm going to mention that. Um, Tomato juice. My goodness, I loved tomato juice before. I have to not have tomato juice now, or limit it very much because it has a lot of sodium. Um, Also, salted tomato products in a jar. So that's another thing you need to look at with salt. And one of my husband's favorite is sauerkraut. So you need to stay away from those things. Those things are not recommended. So while we're talking about all this, those are some of the recommendations I followed, if not all, just because I was trying to eat healthier, all while losing weight. So I was trying to think at the end of the day, heart health and make the scale to go down because both are very, very important to longevity. So that's what I'll leave you with today. I think that's one of the easier ones I made personally. But like I said, this is not a marathon. This is more like a sprint. So if you can make one change at a time, that is wonderful. And if you can make more than one and that works for you, that's great. But you do what it works out best for you. Know I'm over here cheering you on, and I'm excited when we get to chat next. Thanks so much. Have a great day.